Velina Maikako, welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps it aloha by being a hama in literally everything that you do. I'm your host Kamaka, and we got the hama of all hamas as our guest today. But before we introduce him, I gotta remind you to check out our website at keepitaloha.com to get your favorite KIA merch. If supporting us with money doesn't work for you, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It would mean the world to me. All right, let's get right into it and introduce our guest. The Keep It Aloha podcast is brought to you by Lion Coffee, officially Hawaii's favorite local coffee. They've been supporting us, and now it's our time to support them, so we need your help to keep it going. Star Advertisers Hawai'i Best 2025 nomination round is here, and we need your help to nominate Lion Coffee in the Best Local Coffee category once again. From March 26th through April 22nd, you can submit your printed ballots or vote online at staradvertiser.com/Hawaii's Best 2025. Vote Lion Coffee, Hawaii's best local coffee today. Mahalo for your support. Our guest today is a legendary waterman from the island of Oahu. He is a well-known Hawaiian surfer, lifeguard, and stunt coordinator who has provided invaluable support in dozens of major motion pictures films. He played himself in Baywatch Hawaii and many other films. This husband and father is credited with developing new approaches to water safety in big surf and invented the equipment to support it. Was the first to use a jet ski in water rescue operations and invented the rescue sled that the ski tows. He has collected more than 1,000 trophies over the years and participated in more than 30 Eddie Aikau big wave surf contests on Oahu's North Shore. In 2006, he won the ISA Tandem Surfing World Championship and is among the very small group of people that has won both the Quicksilver Eddie Aikau Waterman of the Year Award and Duke Kahanamoku Waterman Hall of Fame. He has accolades that could tower higher than the waves he surfs, and if I keep listing all of them, your eardrums will drown in 20 more minutes of me talking. So just Google him after this. I am so stoked to talk stories with him today. His name is Brian Keaulana. Aloha, Brian. Welcome to the Keep It Aloha podcast. How you doing?
That's it, Kamaka. Thank you. God, you're going to be my agent already.
I would decline just because I wouldn't want to do 30-minute intros every time I have to introduce you. I think you have the most accolades of a guest I've ever seen.
Oh,
I'm not even joking. Like, there was at least half more that I could have listed.
Yeah.
So
you know, it's funny.
Done a lot.
As you're saying that, I tell you one of the things too, like takeaway stuff, right?
Yeah.
You know, when I was in high school, I had this math teacher, and one of the best tips that he ever gave me was, Brian. He goes, I see the potential in you. Let me help you out. He goes, in life, he said, grab one piece of paper and just write down your dreams. But when you make your dreams, write down your goals. And then he would look at my dreams, he'd look at my goals, and then he'd say, okay, let's write attainable goals, things that you can get right here, right now. Like, I wanted to surf around the world, all these kind of things. And basically, when we talked about surfing, because he was a surfer, he would, I would have one bar wax that is attainable. And he would go in his drawer, grab one bar wax, he goes, scratch that off. And that was one of the first lessons that I did. And I never looked back, So when hearing all that, it's like, I like the next, legacy of our Hawaiians, to kind of learn what I learned, from one person that just gave me a small tip.
Yeah, I think we don't realize the small effects that we have on other people's lives. And sometimes you don't know it immediately. It's not until like years later where, you're like, you go to that teacher like, hey, remember when you told me this 20 years ago?
Yeah.
That changed my life.
Yeah. Big time.
So it's so awesome. But seriously, you're a legend. I feel like I only know you at a surface level, and I'm ready to just dive deep into your life story. So I'd love to start at the beginning. Where are you from? Where you grad? And what was it like growing up?
Where I'm from, I was pretty much born at Makaha Beach, literally. My dad was the first park keeper, my father being Buffalo Keaulana, right? So he, also a legend in his own right, and we walk all in his shadows. So, my father was one of the legendary, surfers in his time. Also the world body surfing also too. He won titles, in the 50s and 60s. But we grew up at Makaha Beach, we had a holly right in the middle, and below were the bathrooms that my father would caretake, and he caretake the park, but there was no lifeguards. So my father would go out, clean the park, and people would drown, and he would go out rescue them. So it was that he was the first appointed lifeguard, that came, to Makaha Beach, kind of like how Eddie Aikau. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, Eddie was like my dad's kind of protege, being brought up also too, because Eddie used to come around also too, Aikau. But it was just growing up in that time at Makaha, where I mean, in the '60s, it was just pure, man. Everybody knew everybody. All the families used to come down. I remember as a kid, the word would go out and we go hukilau. Everybody bring one piece of rope, the pakinis. Guys would cut down some of the coconut trees, and they would surround the whole bay, and they pound the water. And you see all the men outside, and no fins, no nothing. Some guys no more goggles. Some guys get bamboo goggles with the glass, and they just swimmers, and just pounding away, and then just corral all this just humongous ball of just life, and then the guys go and surround the whole school. And I also remember as a kid seeing for the first time that never have lead on some sides, so the guys would go and just grab rocks and tangle the rocks inside the thing, and on the bottom them were fins, and they're walking on the bottom. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I developed me training in big waves, running rocks on the bottom of the ocean just to simulate big wave hold downs and stuff. But it's learning from our elders and people, and growing up and those kind of things, where we never went hungry. My father would not only feed our family, but he would feed the whole beach. And would also take a lot of the at-risk kids, the Kaloi kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he would, I mean, it's strong love. My dad would discipline them too if you get out of line, but he would teach them how to fish, how to dive, and all this kind of things. So, water people from the west side would come out in abundance, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's still kind of portrayed to today, because I still see the kids, you know, playing in the water, and having that respect and stuff also too. But it's that involvement of community, and
Mm-hmm.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah. You think it's because of social media and technology, or because of the influx of tourists and transplants moving to Hawaii, that it's changed?
you know I look at the value system, right, how we
Mm-hmm.
were brought up, because back then it's like you wouldn't talk back to an elder.
Mm-hmm.
If they say something, regardless if you never know them, you'd be like, oh, okay, uncle, thank you,
Yeah.
sorry, you apologize, and on our side, and it's somewhat existing today, because if you get in trouble, we're not going to call the cops. We're going to see grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle. You can get in trouble with your family, but nowadays it's changing, and I think the change is really, it's hard because of how, yeah, transplants coming in, values is different. They never grow up in the lifestyle that we've all grown up in. But also too, it's the parents got to work nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
both parents, both mom and dads. So where the kids at? They are growing themselves up and their friends. And so, that's, I don't know, it's hard, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for us guys, the parents at Makaha, when the kids come down, we all help parenting each other's kids. If our kids get out of line, then yeah, that one parent going, discipline that kid, but we'll also communicate with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
When my kids was growing up, I made sure that all their friends they hang out with. Lucky it was a lot of their cousins. We would make sure we meet their parents, and we tell them that hey, if they get in trouble, they all get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They all get scoldings and discipline and stuff like that too. So I think that's the thing. The consequences right nowadays is not how it was before.
Yeah.
And now we live in this Western society, because for me, I've always believed in us living in the kingdom, because that's how we've always lived. It's always been a fruitful life, and the day you change your mentality into that Western way of thinking, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about the value system, because we still need to live alongside the Western,
Mm-hmm.
but again, we don't need to lose our values,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing and stuff. How do we support one another? Because the hardest thing I see nowadays is when you say, well, not a Hawaiian tearing down another
Mm-hmm.
Hawaiian, and all it is to me a lot of times is you don't know each other. A lot of people who don't know me and tear me down don't know me, and that's the thing is like, get to know me first, because I tell you what, if you or your family was out in the water, you need help,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if you hate me or what, I still gonna
Yeah.
rescue you. I still gonna help you. I
Mm-hmm.
still gonna help your family, regardless of what you do.
Yeah. Or how you look,
Yeah,
or what
yeah,
family you come from. You
yeah,
Hawaiian, not Hawaiian. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I believe that, and I think most of life's problems just come from misunderstandings.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I've learned a lot in my life, even in relationships, right? Family, friends, significant others. And that's why I love doing this, because we just had an episode with Gene Villator from Ipono Cafe. I don't know if you guys heard of him. Very polarizing guy, gets lots of hate on social media. And yeah, from the episode there was some hate, but then a lot of comments was like, wow, like that was such a cool episode. Like, I totally misunderstood him. Like, I had no idea about him, but now I'm actually a fan. So I think people just don't take the time to like get to know people. It's all this popcorn mentality of just like, oh, I see a 5-second clip on social media, I'm gonna believe it, I'm not gonna do research. I already have a judgment on this person, and then they just stick with it instead of like actually putting in the time.
Well, it's like this, right? My dad says this: when you go in the ocean, you either go in school or you go in church. So when you go to the ocean, go get educated, right? So you learn a lot about who you are and how you exist alongside the ocean, right? The ocean can feed you, the ocean can counsel you, the ocean can calm you, but it can kill you too. So that's the thing, is do you go to church or school? Because if you don't give the ocean the respect, and when I say respect, it's another word for educate, right? Educate yourself about the details. Because we, as water people, understand the details, right? So we go to school. But if you don't understand that, you go to church, you can be underwater, you can be talking to God.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And yeah, totally. All about education. People have such little context when they make judgments of people.
Yeah.
So it's not until you sit down and talk stories with somebody that you get to know them.
Yeah.
So I want to know, when you were growing up, obviously the water, the ocean was your lifestyle. At what point did you, know that you were just gonna become a lifeguard? This was gonna be your life, and then you were gonna kind of follow the footsteps of your family. I'm sure there was some sort of like, I don't know if it was pressure, maybe a privilege, some sort of Keaulana for you, or how did you take that?
Ah, my life, all I wanted to do, my dad was my greatest superhero, right? Watching him and stuff. And it was like, I like surf. I like surf around the world. That was my dream, being a professional surfer. And I got to that point, to being a professional surfer and things like that, And then even being on like the magazines, that was on dream, right? Those kind of things. And then I remember one time when surf photographer or editor came up and wanted to interview my dad, but my dad would rarely give interviews, and he came through me and said, hey, maybe I can get you and your dad and you can be in this magazine. And as a young teenager, I was all excited, right? So I run to my dad, you got to do this interview. So my father's still over there looking at me. He goes, nah. And I go, what you mean? So he goes, nah. He goes, I don't like talk to those guys. He goes, if you like, you do them. And I was all bummed out because, it's like, that's what was on the way, right? But my dad was teaching me on lessons, like stand on your own, right? So from then, it was always of just trying. And, in competition, it was the losing that you learn, because in losing, it's about the humbleness of how to lose, of how to, a lot of the times too, it's about, you get nervous when you surfing against somebody way greater in talent, but it's learning from those, being surrounded by those great surfers. And that's what, for me, made me better, because I always would just mimic those guys, right? It was like Ding Keaulana, Larry Birdman, Mark Richards, all those guys. For me, it was like, man, just, superstars. But being around them, you just get better and better and better and better. And then for me, once I went pro surfing and went and kind of did all that, I never know what I was going to do, So I traveled around the world. Years one young kid, just kind of like just having fun. My dad forced me to be on lifeguard, really, It's like, hey, you need one job, because this surfing thing not going to pan out. And I'm going, Dad, I'm making money, actually, But he never understand. So ended up, I went lifeguarding part-time and learned from my dad and did well and all that kind of things. And it was just on one job, side job. But I also appreciated the skills that I learned in lifeguarding. And then you also appreciate, man, there's more than money, because when you save on life, especially on young baby or someone else in gratitude, I mean, it's like, it's heart rich, right? You just shaking. Like sometimes you cannot sleep. You go like, wow, that was unbelievable. And
Mm-hmm.
we put ourselves in extreme situations, giant waves, underwater to the point we almost knock it out,
Mm-hmm.
hitting the bottom, those kind of things, being smashed against the rocks, so all these kind of dangers and hazards, but it becomes our element, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing. And then, having all those talents, I think right after high school, I started modeling and dabbling in acting. So I landed, some national commercials, and it was like me and Vince Klein was just going back and forth, and that was the time, and it was really good money. And then, I was like, man, what else can do, inside of this industry? So there's water safety work, so we
Mm-hmm.
did that, and I seen the stunt guys, and we were doing a lot more risky stuff than the stunt guys, and I was going, man, how come we're not getting paid like them, right? So that was to the point where we shifted and kind of like, okay, change the game. If we're going to be out there in the environment, then you like hire us, you can hire us as stunt experts, in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So, back then was the original Baywatch and Heart to Heart and
Mm-hmm.
the original Point Break. And I mean, there's so much shows that we did, so we became the guys to go to for, water, both me and especially Terry Ahui,
Mm-hmm.
and then did like Water World. And then from there, we just kind of gravitated in. And then my lifeguarding also excelled, right? Because we ended up, I've been the captain and then developed the whole thing with the jet skis and the rescue sleds and all that kind of things. And, just elevated the whole, our lifeguard industry in the whole world, because one of the things that I learned, especially in the film industry, was about risk.
Mm-hmm.
And then in ocean safety, it was all about safety. So when I put the two together, risk and safety, it was all about risk management.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned risk management going to the co-op training with the Army Safety Center from Washington, D.C. So we had a co-op with all these military agencies and government agencies, and I learned about the process of risk management. So then I became an instructor for risk management, especially redefining ocean risk management.
Mm-hmm.
So that really just kind of like slinged us into the next realm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where everything changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool hearing this story because, we're taught growing up that, education is in a classroom,
Mhm.
right? Where your education, I didn't hear one point of your whole conversation where there was a lesson in a classroom in front of a
Oh
teacher.
yeah.
It was like the ocean, your aunties, uncles, friends, everybody just around you. And I think that's super cool. And before the podcast started, you was telling me like, oh yeah, your kupuna has never taught you Hawaiian and how to speak Hawaiian, but you were still taught, whether you knew it or not, like all these Hawaiian values.
Hmm.
Like your dad not doing that interview with you, it taught you all these other lessons. And when I think of your story, I just think of like Nana Kamaka, Ho'olohe ka pepeau, Pa'a kawaha hana kalima, which is like watch with your eyes, listen with your ears, shut your mouth, and just do it with your hands.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
basically your
Yeah.
whole life. That's
Yeah.
how you learn, is
Yeah.
just through that, way of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's so cool to hear because I just feel like we're, as we said earlier, like we're a little disconnected from that
Yeah.
type of mindset, especially with how integrated we are with Western society.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's super cool. Also, I was thinking, you basically invented like the jet ski rescue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it must be kind of cool seeing like films or TV shows like Rescue High, seeing the people on the jet ski. So do you ever feel like a sense of pride? How does that make you feel? I think of like someone like Steve Jobs, like, seeing somebody on an iPhone and being like, I created that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get that
Yeah.
kind of feeling?
Yeah, I sometimes try not even think about the credit, right? Because a lot of the times it's really, and everybody who knows me, it's not about me. It's about people around me. Because I really stand to get rich when I elevate people around me. If someone becomes my student but also gravitates to being my teacher, I just planted one seed, bore one fruit. Now I get someplace to eat, right? I can eat knowledge because this person just grew past of what I learned. And that's what I'm proud of. It's those kind of, fruits, because it's like, if all of us guys just think that way, elevate each other, man, that's how Hawaiian society should be. Again, even like for us guys in the film industry, we are so strong in our industry here and so talented. There's nothing that can stop us, guys, as far as what comes into skills and raw talent. People come to us from all over the world. But yeah, seeing the skis in the Olympics and whether, they around the world and things like that. I mean, it really happened. Just so not everybody knows the whole story, but I was surfing in one of the first Eddie cows. And back then, a lot of the lifeguarding was, we would lifeguard events, rescue boards, rescue tubes, and fins. And a lot of times we would go in and try to rescue someone in the big surf. And then we got to get rescued because we get wiped out. And then the other backup lifeguard got to come in and rescue the surfer and rescue us. So that was the heavy times. And it took sometimes hours to pull off that rescue in the middle of the ocean, So that's the kind of element. And back then it was like really dependent on the helicopter flying in to drop a basket and pick us up, So when we were competing in one of the original eddies at Waimea, I wiped out. And then in wiping out, I was on the bottom tumbling around. I popped up. A giant wave was right there. And then Squiddy Sanchez was on a regular stand-up jet ski. So he kind of came zooming into the lineup and he got right next to me. He goes, "Brian, you all right?" And I was blown away that somebody actually came in, right? Looking at him all going like, wow, he's right there. And I go, "Yeah, I'm fine," because he couldn't grab me. There's no place to like grab before he get nailed. So he took off. Of course, I got hit, but I was just in one zone. I was just so like amazed. So I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna survive this wipeout because when I come back, man, I'm gonna buy all these magazines and I'm gonna start researching what is it out there. There's some kind of technology out there that can help us in life saving." So after the event, I went straight to the store and bought all these personal watercraft magazine. And that year, Yamaha came out with the first Wave Runner. So we ended up, I made one loan for $5,000, went there with me and Melvin Poole, went to Yamaha and just negotiated. And, it was funny because I gave Melvin $1,000. I go, "I'm going to tell him only get 4. So we went over there and negotiated with the guy. And the guy go, "Oh, I can only do this much." He said, "The most I can bring him down to is like $5,000. I go, "Oh, Melvin, I can borrow $1,000.
Smart.
So, bought the ski, came home, and then we started, doing rescues. And, to me, that whole jet ski kind of like progression was really 4 pillars, 4 guys. It was me, Melvin Poole, Dennis Govea, and Terry Ahui, 4 of us guys. And all of us put our heads together and try to figure out, okay, how do we can make rescues? Because you couldn't pick somebody up who was unconscious. You just be tipping over and all this. So I ended up just getting on bodyboard, pulling one water hose through the thing with a rope, and then put him on the back. And then we was rescuing. And it was funny because the first rescues we did, Melvin on the back, we come up to a guy, and then the guy drowning, we grab him, we put him on top. But Melvin's on the back, and he's twirling, right? Getting upside down, but he's hanging on to the guy. So we drowning at the same time, pull him into the channel, come up, and the guy's half, drowned. And he goes, "Oh, man." So we're going, "Oh, we got to put some kind of stabilizer." So we end up putting bungee on the side. So it's all these trials and errors that developed what it is today. But it's fun thinking about, man, we had the least powerful skis on the smallest little sleds pulling off these massive rescues. Nowadays, the machines we get, I mean, I can rescue 10 guys at once, with the stuff. And it really progressed into a lot of the pickups. Like we get manuals that we've written all over the place of, how to approach people, what to do. A lot of it is all risk management, right? How to rescue someone without escalating from something bad to something worse, those kind of things, right? So, it's grown, but it's also fun,
Yeah, that's so cool. And you did it with some of your friends or some people, which made it even better.
Yeah.
They should make a documentary on this. Is there no documentary on like the invention of the jet ski rescue?
They did, what's it, Guardians of the Guardians of the Sea. I might say brain fart right now. Yeah, but they did one lifeguard movie.
Okay.
So there's tidbits of them.
Okay.
Those kind of things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
If you need more coffee, we got lots of Lion coffee in the back.
Well, hot coffee, I think.
Maybe during our shishi break.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
get
yeah,
one. Okay, so you were, deep into the lifeguarding, and then you started to step into modeling and film industry, and then at what point did it really like take off where you really like became the face of like the Hawaii film industry,
Yeah.
water safety operations, or was there like a bigger plan to bring films and TV shows and movies to Hawaii?
I mean, a lot of it was really just, opportunity pops up, right, and getting called. But I wasn't working only Hawaii. I was working all over in California, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Japan. I mean, just traveling all over because you become talented and everybody just trying to grab a piece of you. But what I saw also too was,
Hey, was that a jet?
I guess.
Yeah, I've never heard it that loud. I don't know if you guys could hear that on the audio.
Oh, you guys catch it or no?
It might be because that one was really loud.
Yeah,
Sometimes you hear a plane, but the mic doesn't catch it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that sounded like a jet or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Anyway, blank where we were at.
You were traveling everywhere.
Oh
to
yeah.
go.
So we travel everywhere, but the thing I realized too is I end up training a lot of our knowledge and skills elsewhere, and then I see the workforce development that we doing elsewhere, and they gravitating up. I mean, Tahiti, for example, all the contests. I went there, developed their whole training program, and those guys became like some of the best guys in the world in rescues, because of the environment. But then you developing all these other people. I like to do that at home, here, with our lifeguards and, our film industry people, those kind of things too. So again, being in the film industry, you see all these, I say, learning situations where, for me, a lot of times before movies would come in and they get permit. And then we kind of, it's like, oh my God, the community don't like this thing over here. Or, it's like they tapping into our cultural side kind of thing. And for me, a lot, if I involve in the beginning, in the planning stages, first thing I do is grab them and go, hey, let's go ask permission before we even get permits. So I think because I ended up getting into a larger stature, not just coordinating, but now I'm directing and producing, and then being more involved in the development and planning stages of on film. We get involved with locations, intel locations, go to the area. Like Chief of War is a prime example. We made sure we had cultural consultants from different areas, and also too, when we go to an area, go ask permission before we get there. And then once we get permission, it's like, okay, do your research, find out who's the skillful and knowledgeable in some of the things we're going to do there. Like whether it's Loa or whether, it's like one vendor, they're growing food, or, who get one lo'i field close by or something like that. How can we better impact our community, our culture, and just people? And then even like, I proud the fact that we went to Kalapana. I mean, just love the people there in the place. And then, it's like we met some of the families and they go, oh man, I was related to that character right there. And then we go, really? So I go up to Jason and Jay. That family right there is connected to the kind. And then he goes, oh, put them right next to him. So in the film, they're actually next to their ancestor, which is a neat thing, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel just at that moment proud of myself that I had, one small part inside of there. But all of us guys, again, not taking claim, right? But just, I feel like just so good of like, man, it's so neat. Imagine, their ancestors before benefiting their ancestors later. To me, it's a small little gesture and stuff like that. But when you see Chief of War, I think everybody gonna blow their mind.
Yeah. That's what I've been hearing for like the longest time.
Oh God.
Yeah.
To me, out of all the things I did, by far that's the proudest I've ever been.
Oh, that's so cool. And it's in Olelo, Hawaii, right?
all in Olelo.
Yeah, which is gonna be, historical.
Yeah, yeah,
The only thing we've had like that was Wind and the Reckoning
yeah,
in the movies, but
yeah.
now we have a whole TV series on Apple
On,
TV.
on the largest platform ever.
Yeah, Apple
Yeah,
TV's killing it
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Got Severance,
yeah,
Ted Lasso. I've been
yeah,
watching all those things.
yeah.
So it's gonna be so cool to see Chief. I'm getting chicken skin.
Oh yeah,
It's gonna be so cool to see Chief of War
yeah,
and hear our Olelo Makuahine
yeah,
on the TV. So
yeah, yeah,
even with Rescue High, we just watched the finale.
yeah.
Me, my girlfriend, and my sister, and like my sister was like, she posted about it, how cool it was to see like local brands like Kahula people wearing Kahula at the luau,
Mm-hmm.
hearing Hawaiian music and all of that.
Yeah.
It is super cool, and I feel like Rescue High has done such a good job of showing an authentic view of Hawaii, especially with Kikoa's character. It's like the epitome of a local voice.
He just played himself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I talked to him and I was like, how much of that is Laka and how much of that is Kikoa? He's like, 95%. So I think the casting was great. And we're really hoping for a season 2, and maybe we can get into just a little about what's going on, because we're trying to get more things going in Hawaii, because right now there's just not a lot, right?
Yeah.
And this is like probably, I think what I've been seeing online, it's like the lowest it's ever been or something like that.
I've been in here like close to 40 plus years, right? And then, Rescue High Surf is not only a pet project of mine, but John Wells, who has done ER and who has come many times here. And he also, his, main writer, executive producer, and showrunner is Matt Kester, who also speaks Olelo and from Kahuku grad also too. So they made me a producer on that, Rescue High Surf. I'm also the water unit director on top of that. They also have my son as the stunt coordinator. So I never really bring him in. John Wells asked him himself, just because Chad is already, he came from Kamehameha schools and graduated, and then went into engineering, graduated. I thought he was going to be an engineer. But he goes, Dad, I like, part-time lifeguard. And he dabbled in stunts, and all the stunt riggers love him because of his engineering background. So he kind of made his own way up, and then, did small little Hallmark movies, and, kind of climbed up the ladder, and he landed that as the stunt coordinator. But when you look at Rescue High Surf, it's close to, I would say, like 90% locals in that whole show. It's unheard of almost, But that's because it's because of John, it's because of Matt and Noah, and there's a lot of local people on the upper level, or the keys, right? Above the line people involved making those decisions. And we need more shows like that to do that kind of thing, because again, we need infrastructure. We need studios here. I went to New Zealand, with Chief of War. I've been there before, but not working on a big project like that. And seeing how they operate, how they film on the domestic and international side, I was blown away, culturally, of how they approach things, right? And I going, man, we can do that. And I was so frustrated looking at our industry going, the time I was here, our needle never moved, as far as our industry goes. And I was like, you know what? Me, Angela Pratt, and Robert Suka just said, with Jason, let's just start up our own nonprofit, International Cultural Arts Network, and let's elevate all of our industry. So we started off with our actors first, and then we went into our writers. So we're talking about producers, we're talking about whether it's Electric Grip or even you guys, you're part of our entertainment industry too. Podcast is, how can we elevate Hawaii into this higher level, like out there in New Zealand. I keep hearing New Zealand is a country and Hawaii is just a state. I say wrong. We're still in country. It's the mentality. I believe that we still live in the kingdom, and we still can do those kind of kingdom moves. It's believe in yourself. Do things like, you like doing feature movie. Let's do them. People say you need money. Hey, we do big parties, with nothing. And we go out and we make them with thousands of people,
Yeah.
It's all about family. It's all about how we invest in one another. And that's what I tell people, instead of having people invest in us, let's reinvest in ourselves. Let's move the needle ourselves. Let's be accountable and responsible ourselves. Stop blaming everybody else
Yeah,
about
yeah,
where we at, or putting me or putting that. Yeah, putting and not doing the work. Do the
yeah.
work. Yeah,
Yeah, we spend so much time complaining. We could be spending all the time doing.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. You know,
It's so crazy. And
yeah.
I think right now with the we're in the era of like entrepreneurship, and people are starting to become the representation, whether that's like with the Asian community, not having a lot of Asian actors. Now there's all these Asian films, and now not a lot of Polynesian people. Now we have all these things coming out, so we're in a good time in our history, and especially with the language, with the Renaissance, all the Hawaiian immersion schools. So I think we're at a good time. And sometimes most times Hawaii is just like 10 years behind
Yeah.
with a lot of things, even podcasting, there's been podcasting for, I don't know, 20 years, in Hawaii, it's only started to get big in the last couple of years,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we just need to try to like stay ahead and work with the people who have the resources, because a lot of times like we have all the talent, we just don't have the direction, and we don't have the resources. But like if we hui together and we work together to do all these things, it can happen.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big
So
time.
one of the things that stop people from filming in Hawaii is the cost, right? I was on this game show on Fox a couple years ago, and we were filming in Georgia, and I was talking to people. They're saying like Georgia is becoming like the new Hollywood because of all like the tax credits and stuff. I see interviews of like actors talking about like filming, like it's cheaper to film all the way in like Turkey or like
Budapest.
wherever than to do like one episode in America, in LA. So why is that? Is that like a state by state kind of thing? Why do some people, some countries have way higher tax incentives than places in the United States or Hawaii?
It's just again, right? It's in the fine details, right? Educate yourself about what it is, and I say this in a good way, right? Who are the SMEs, the subject matter experts? Because those people with those knowledge in that those experts in those things, that's the one that really can provide. Because what does it take for production to come here, to put their feet and plant in and invest? The thing is, too, is I say Hawaii should have been managed better, to where, the past 20, 40 plus years, we could have had studios developed, infrastructure, and that's the part that when movies come here, they like Rescue High Surf, we in Mililani, and we get one office, so we got to go just retrofit something. Kalailoa, same thing. They got to go retrofit one old warehouse that's dilapidated. We have Diamond Head Studios, but it's not to the specs of, it's great and it's workable, but the way it is now, and then with our new technology we have now, God, they did Mandalorian with this LED screen. It's crazy. We can do that. We can do that here. Again, it's I feel if when production comes here, like anything, we always say, when you come to our area, leave it better than when you left it. So in other words, just invest in something and leave it back, because maybe we can use that later, So that's the kind of thing too. And then even with the state, right? Because again, our senators working real hard. They're trying to figure out ways with what education they have. So it's going to take people like us to go there, sit down with them, and just make them understand, severity of where we at right now. Because we at this point right now where we on the edge of one cliff, and we falling. We're actually falling. We're not leaning, we're falling. And we have 2 shows that is pending on this incentive right now: Rescue High Surf and Chief of War. The question is, are they going to come back second season? They're probably going to get greenlit. Well, so we'll see. But at the same time, too, is it feasible? Because why would they come here if it's not? And then again, if they don't come here, all eyes are on those 2 shows. What other show would invest if 2 successful shows pulling out? Common sense.
Yeah, I know that it comes down to budget and stuff.
It comes down to a lot of things, right? It is the financial budget, how you can make things meet. Having the state just kind of like keep us in surviving mode at least, to where we can have these productions come back. And then once we start working, now we can put the money to use. Because I tell you what the film industry does. It doesn't just benefit the people who are working in the film industry. It really lubricates the economy around us. Because who benefits? The rental car business, the airlines, the hotels,
Food, catering.
the food,
Yeah.
the catering, the materials that we got to build for the sets, all those kind of things. The people who are, putting out T-shirts, they got to print. The textile people and stuff too. So there's the printing people. We affect so much around people and give them so much opportunity and growth. That's the thing that I think they got to realize. You may put maybe money in here, but it really lubricates all over the place. And the other part too is, in our industry, as you grow the industry, workforce development, a lot of us who work in the film industry own houses. It's not like the tourist industry where you work from paycheck to paycheck and you got to find an extra job. And not putting them down. It's just the reality of what it is. But in the film industry, a lot of the guys, they own houses. They can put their kids to school. I like to see more locals get that opportunity. Not just me. I don't like be, fortunate. I don't like even being entitled. I like to see who's the next, locals that can really benefit from this. Yeah.
But Brian, did you think about this? Why would we invest in that when we can invest in a $6 billion railroad project and have meetings about National Kimchi Day?
Oh yeah.
Like, we gotta think of our priorities here, right?
Yeah.
No, it's crazy because like hearing that and thinking like, wow, yeah, over the last 10 years, we could have had studios built.
We could have mega
Like with
studios.
all of our taxpayer monies, right?
I tell you one crazy one is, like, people come to us for water, right? Our knowledge. And we film, Rescue Ice Surf is a prime example, but we film all over the place with water. And we don't have, we have the worst water tank at Diamond Head. It's sad, it's covered up. We help design and develop some of the best ones too. It's like, make one. Because if you make one, people gonna come. Not all the time the ocean is going to be calm or going to have the visibility or have the right lighting. Everything in film, it's all about time and controllability. So if you're on studio, you can control your sound, you can control your lighting. That's the part where time and money just going, at least, make their budget, right? That's the thing and stuff too. And again, it's like, we get to see Riders production, right? What Candy and them doing with the kids, great for our kids. And even Chris Lee, the stuff that he's doing with UH, amazing stuff, So it's like, we should be working all together, and then just trying to see how can we branch out and keep making those. You don't have to make big moves, just move. Just keep moving,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just so to sum it all up, we won't be able to do anything unless we get help from the state.
Right now, yeah.
Our future is basically resting on their paperwork.
Yeah,
Right?
right now we are, So, having the mentality of, oh, we got the best in Hawaii, or we got the best islands, all this. I tell you, I've been in the whole world, and we've shot Hawaii in New Zealand. We've shot Hawaii in Australia. We've shot Hawaii in Barbados. We've shot Hawaii in Florida. Moana was shot in Atlanta. That's the thing. So we kind of have this mindset that, they're going to come to us. We have to work hard. We have to earn what we're going to have. To be entitled to say, hey, they're going to come to us. That's not the reality, It's just, dreaming that it's going to happen, It's not going to manifest unless you put the hard work in. Well, let me change that. It's not you, it's we.
Yeah.
Because we got to stand in this together.
Yeah. It makes so much sense to have a studio here that, we talk about tourism being our number one, like the best thing for our economy. Like, bringing films here can bring so much to the economy, right? Like you said, it lubricates all the other industries. So
I mean,
it
why
makes
not?
so much sense. I don't like if you're a senator listening to this, do it.
Well, why not do our own Hawaiian version of Universal, right?
Yeah.
Universal Studios. Why not make our own Hawaiian studios in on backlot with our own, like our own, develop with local people, like our forest in the background, and the backlot right there. And the to me, it's like the perfect. You get the studio inside, you go and, backdrop. Like Kualoa is one of the places that we film, God,
How many
so many
times? Yeah.
times, right? But then, it's funny because, again, even people looking like, oh, it's Kualoa. You know what I mean? Whether it's Lost or whether it's Rescue High Surf or whatever, but it's great. I tell you, and John Morgan and those guys, I tell you, is so smart and so good what they're doing also too. And they really employ a lot of the locals. And when you go there and you see what they're doing, it's so smart, Yeah. Leaving up Jurassic Park, Mighty Joe Young, and 50 First Dates, and all these movies. When you walk in that timeline, I mean, people just amazed, like on small prop that was there, standing by that, and then, banking.
Yeah. So you're saying like we could have more things like Kualoa.
We either Kualoa, but
Yeah.
the state can take advantage.
Yeah.
Like, why shouldn't the state benefit from these kind of things also too, to where tourists come in and they pay for them, and then, they can go around and the whole thing is, how do we make one circular economy? How can we be self-sufficient and not rely on, but the other part too, you got to remember, what we're asking for is on tax incentive. It's money that's not even there yet, so right now it's zero. Like, there's nothing here.
Oh, there's absolutely nothing.
No, I mean, right now there's zero productions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But what's the tax incentive right now?
Well, I might be not saying what the details are without having them in front of me and stuff, but I think we're trying to get like 70 million on tax incentives, so she's kind of weird, so should answer that.
Oh,
Yeah, but try talk to him outside. Yeah.
Oh wait, we can take let's just take a quick
break.
shishi break, and
Yeah.
we'll come right back.
Tea.
Kalea Hop Water is a sparkling, hop-infused beverage with bright, tropical flavors and the refreshing essence of island life. With 0 alcohol, 0 carbs, and 0 calories. Kalea brings aloha in every bubble.
All right, we're back from a quick shishi break. Mahalo to our drink sponsors, Keaulana Sparkling Hop Water, for providing the best quality shishi. I forget what we were talking about before that because we had a phone call and we all got distracted by that.
Technology.
Yeah. So, but we'll get right into the social media fan questions because we have a bunch. I'm just trying to flip my thingy right now. Okay, we're good. All right, so first question. We'll start with this one since she's right here. Tiare_Lawrence says, where was your biggest wipeout?
Oh my God. There's wipeouts, huh? It's when you think about that, right? Because it's like, how much times when your life flashed in front of your eyes, and there's many times actually, it's all generalized in different areas. Like, I had heavy wipeouts at Makaha where, it felt like, okay, that's it, I'm ready to black out. Let me pick one. I think one that stands out for me was my early years where I was competing in the pro circuit and I was training at Sunset. And, this is one big day, and it was a competition also too in one of the Triple Crowns. And back then there was no jet skis back then, right? So I took off on big wave and ended up, like wiping out and came up and had my board. And I tried to paddle through, so I tried to duck dive through one of the lips. Sunset is powerful and huge. And the lip broke right on me, but it also broke on me and broke through my surfboard. So it knocked all the air out of my lungs. It squeezed me between the board, and my board broke, So I was underwater tumbling around. Everybody knows, if you ever get hit in the diaphragm, you like underwater, it's different because it's like you got your air knocked out, right? Wow. So I'm underwater now, no breath, everything came out, tumbling, and I'm trying to get to the surface, and then I pull up and, I got this short board, so it's not really getting me up, and right when I get up to the surface, I try to take on breath, and the wave right there, and that whole, right? Because you got hit, and I got hit from that next wave, so no breath, right? Tumbling around. And then now I'm trying to come up, and I feel this velvet black surrounding me, like my eyes just going into blackout, my body kind of quivering. And I gotta fight, because I'm gonna black out. So I fought, and I just exploded to the top, and I forced myself to breathe, and I took one big breath, and I got the breath in, but the third wave pummeled me, right? So I'm already weak. I got on breath in. I was just blacking out almost, and then my vision came back underwater. But I'm now getting into this throes where I cannot control my body. My body's quivering underwater, and I'm holding my gut, and I'm going, oh, only one hand swimming, and just tumbling around. And I'm going, oh, this is it. Like that, I going guarantee be gone. So I said, heck the pain, heck the fight. I mean, the blackout fight, gotta fight. So I fought, and then broke the surface again, took another big breath, right? And then by then I got hit one more time. So again, vision came back, but I was all weak, pushed me kind of into the channel and stuff. And there was no more waves, but I got up, but I was too weak to even swim. And then my board was gone already, So I just remember like out of it, and I look up, and remember back then we were lifeguarding, so we were on surfboards and rescue tubes. So I seen the caddies outside, and caddies is the caddying for the other surfers. So I see the caddies, and I need help, so I kind of wave at them. And I remember this clearly because they all look at me and they all wave back like, "Oh, that's Brian." And in my head, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick you guys' ass so bad," right? So I went into survival mode, and I started. We in life saving, you learn these survival strokes of how to float and relax. So I put my mind into survive and just take breaths and relax. But by then, I was in the rip and being ripped out to sea, going right. So just surviving, and I'm going, oh man, the guys was waving, but nobody was coming towards me, right? They thought like I was all right. And Derek Dona, who was lifeguarding, he saw me. He jumped in on the rescue board, and then he came paddling out. And I was in the rip, just like losing it, right, trying to survive. And then he just grabbed my hair, my head, boom, yanked me up and put me on a surfboard, and he paddled me in. So and then the funny part it wasn't funny, but he got me up. Ambulance there, checked me out, gave me O2, so everything comes back. And, it's like anything, right? You get into a fight, you got hit in the gut and that kind of stuff. So I advanced my heat, right? So I got to go back out. So I'm going, oh my God. And Derek going, come on, get back on the horse. And I'm going, yeah. I got my bigger board. So I'm going, okay, I just going to catch some bigger waves, right? So I go, okay, I'll go surf. So now you intimidated, right? Because I just got a heavy hit. So I paddle for this big wave, and what happens? I wipe out.
Oh my God.
So I'm on the water going like, oh my God. But I think that was a good lesson because I got out of that wipeout, I paddled out, and it got it out of my system. So that was neat, because I was like, okay. Then I started charging and started going and stuff too. So I advanced that round, and then I lost right before the finals. And at that time, it was at sunset, it was the Billabong, and I made, what was it, the quarters, and I just missed. They was going to have the semis or the finals at Waimea the next day. So anyway, that's one of many stories.
Yeah, I bet you have tons.
I got tons of like near-death, wipeout stories. I mean, you got to ask me about like areas, right? Whether it was Piahi or, Makaha, Waimea. I got tons of those stories. Same like rescues. I got thousands of rescues. I had people running up to me and going, they know my whole life story. Brian, remember the rescue? And I'm looking at them going blank because, it's like, the podcast you did, 3 years from before or something, right? So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. It's funny because the closest I've ever got to drowning in surfing was Sunset too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. It was the first time I was surfing with my ex. We went out because she lived right over there. And then we went out and I used her brand new pink longboard. And it wasn't even that big, but I I went a couple ways. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Okay. I'm also intimidated surfing North Shore because I'm a townie.
Yeah.
I surf town. But I went on a couple. I was like, okay, it's not too bad. And then this like rogue set came in, and I was still trying to paddle out, and I was like, just made it over. Just made it over. And then I got to the top of one, just made it over. And then after that, there's one just about to crash right on me. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I guess I wasn't like, I'm not used to surfing that way. So I don't know if I just like ditched my board or something and went down. I forget what I did, but it just smashed right on me and the board came up. Board was broken.
Oh.
And I just remember being underwater and like kind of like chilling because, you know, that's what I heard. He just kind of waited out.
Yeah.
And then I start paddling. I'm like, okay, I'm still paddling. And like I keep going and going and going. Like, why am I not at the top? I didn't realize how deep it is over there.
Yeah.
So I like barely made it, and I was like I had to paddle on like one half of a board. So I still had at least half of a board, but it was all like broken, so I was like cut up.
Oh God.
But yeah, that was my one time at Sunset.
Yeah.
Not nearly as bad as yours though. So that's crazy. You should do a podcast of like every episode is just one wipeout.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
just telling the story of one wipeout. Okay, next question comes from Dane Arakawa. Shout out to my friend Dane. He says, what does it mean to you to be a waterman and come from such a legendary surf family?
You know, I think being on waterman, because the word waterman literally been watered down, right? Because it's like you bodyboard, you longboard, you do this. People consider you on waterman. You know, to me, waterman it's a culture because, you know, living in the ocean, living the life in the ocean is like being a water woman, a waterman, you know, because it's like feed off the ocean, learn off the ocean, educate yourself, your school, your church. I mean, the ocean is your life, you know, it's your connection, it's your umbilical cord, you know, like for me, my kids, when they were born, I had their pico put into my favorite spot, Makaha Point, right? That's where the pico connected because, you know, that pico represents all that energy, that knowledge that when they were just in the mother's womb, you know, it's that spiritual reconnection, especially for my kids, right? Feeling so connected, you know, all the knowledge that we have there. So, you know, for me, it's that being a water person that you can just live in abundance, you know? You can thrive, right? You can enjoy life. And that's what, you know, a waterman, a water woman is, you know, how much can you thrive in the ocean? And not just you, but sharing of your knowledge and your skill with people around you. That's the whole water community, you know? So again, sometimes I feel like putting labels on somebody, you know, it's like just that, right? The label on the can. To me, what's more important is the content in that can. You know, what's inside that content, you know? What's the value system? How was you raised? How were you brought up? How do you share that, you know, fruitful, you know, drink to the rest of the people around you? You know, how do you carry on that legacy?
Super cool.
Yeah.
And I know you've passed on a lot of great things to your kids. I'm more familiar with Ha'a.
Yeah.
I'm just from social media. So it's cool that, you know, you talked about early in the episode, just, you know, doing it for the next generation. And seems like, you know, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And so are your kids.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, coming from one family like that, it's a lot of pressure. You know, there's just some families in Hawaii that you just know, right?
Yeah.
Keaulana, Moniz,
Yeah.
you know, like stuff like that. And you're like, yep, that's one Hama family. Okay, this is a fun question. Aubrey.intheindustry says, tell us about your modeling days in all caps.
Jeez. Oh, modeling days. God, I modeled with Cindy Crawford.
Oh.
I got a picture of, actually, it was funny, it was on Vogue magazine shot. And then I had to take Cindy Crawford tandem surfing. And then the other funny part was the photographer was, okay, we can tandem outside. I was not sure, like the waves are small. And he goes, oh, perfect, but she can't get her hair wet. I go, what?
What?
So literally get me, I got the picture on my phone, got me holding up Cindy Crawford, you know, in the air and doing one move and stuff also too. So,
oh, that's pressure to not drop her, right? Or like get her hair wet.
Well, we were just in the like ankle high water. So we never even go in and surf.
Yeah.
So it was literally on the beach, So they just wanted the photo. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow. That was probably one of your most memorable moments.
Yeah, that and the reason I got into the modeling thing was really just I don't know, it was good money, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I landed like national commercials, and then it was big money, on those national commercials. So it was like that's kind of, I guess, getting into the film industry, right? That way I was like, wow, you can make really good money, from this. But like anything is not all the time you can get those kind of opportunities,
Yeah. My girlfriend's a model, and it's like some months good money, some months you don't get that many jobs, so I totally get it. Okay, next question comes from FBR Films. Shout out to Fide. He says, what exactly do we need to get Hollywood to film here in Hawaii again? Is it basically what we talked about with all the tax incentives?
To get Hollywood over here is really how do we make it so it's affordable, for them to come here, and having infrastructure, for them also too. So I guess that's the thing where to start. Like I said before, we are on time right now. We were feasting, and this is like our famine, but it's the worst because I feel that we're on a cliff and we're falling, and if we don't survive this fall, I don't see how any other productions would come. So it's a trying time. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping there's more and stuff. But again, just thinking from the production standpoint of them coming here, because we've lost other productions that were actually here, and they pulled the plug.
Yeah, Hawaii 5-0, Magnum, PI, right, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hoping for the best. Okay, next question comes from Star Doll Thurston, former Miss Hawaii and friend of the podcast. She says, what was the gnarliest rescue you had to make on set?
There was a time with her dad. No. A gnarliest rescue. God, so much rescues we did also too. I mean, we did that cave rescue where it went international. We rescued this guy who took picture next to the Moiho kind of point, and big wave came and slammed him and launched him into a cave, and he was in the cave for 2.5 hours being pummeled, and the waves at kind of point was like 50 plus, up there. So that was heavy back then. But there's so much more rescues that we've done. I mean, put it this way, I was directing the water unit on Rescue High Surf, and in the whole season of filming Rescue High Surf, we've done, 52 documented rescues while we were filming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of people on set or just people around?
It was people outside of set. So we've had boats that actually turned over inside of surf and rescued. We had babies that got pummeled in the undertow, and our lifeguards that we had went and rescued. We even had the actors actually rescue people also too.
Crazy.
Robbie Makasiwa actually paddled out and rescued a tourist at Three Tables where we were filming.
Yeah.
So all this kind of, and it's neat that we did. I mean, there's so much that went on. Even the kind on Hunger Games, where I had Jennifer Lawrence with me, and I had her on the sea bob, and we were doing a scene at Turtle Bay, and the waves was big, but we were inside, and these guys got just launched out in the rip, and then one of the off-duty lifeguards came running up to us because we had the skis too, and he goes, "Brian, this guy's like drowning outside." So Terry went out with the ski. I left Jennifer with one of my other guys and went out with the sea bob, and we ended up rescuing these Guamanians that almost died, brought them in. So, I think some of the times when we out in the rescues, they don't hear of us that we do is whether we working or not working, we're still saving people when we're out there.
Always on duty.
Yeah, always on duty.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I think the funniest rescues on the high rescue surf is like the dumbest one where they're talking to the tourists, and they're like, it looks so like, why would anybody still go in after hearing all this stuff? And it happens in real life.
I know.
It's like, if you're from here, you're like, sounds so stupid, but these are real scenarios.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. People just don't they don't understand the ocean.
No, I mean, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't turn your back to the ocean.
Yeah. They never heard of Opihi, man.
Yeah.
Okay, next question comes from Raymond Tanaka, 3 A's. He says, Brian, as a lifeguard, surfer, stunt coordinator, safety consultant, and absolute hammer, there can be heightened risk of injury. Did you have a close call of being in danger, and how has that experience shaped your passions?
Yeah, there's always close calls, right? She's again, just trying to go through the Rolodex.
Yeah.
Oh God, this generation doesn't know what Rolodex is, right?
I'm guessing it's a list.
Man, there's so much and stuff when you look back. Like I can tell you about shark issues that we just had with sharks swimming by and the guys outside, and we trying to get them out of the water. Lucky we have skis. The skis help us with the speed of getting them in and out. I think the gnarliest probably is when we didn't have skis. When we had to go out. God, let me tell you one horrible one, and this is not where we actually saved the guy. It was during a hurricane that was passing south of us, but it created giant surf. And me and Rel's son was actually working, and I was still an kind of like, young lifeguard. And Rel was, the main lifeguard back then. And this guy paddled out, and it was huge waves, like 15, 20 foot, but storm surf. And he wiped out in the bowl. And if you ever seen storm surf, the interval is really close, So the guy was drowning. So me and Rel paddled out with the rescue boards in the channel of Makaha. And literally, the guy was in the bowl, and we looking at him, and we yelling at him to swim out. But where he was, the rip was going through the bowl, and he was stuck in his cycle where the wave was just hitting him. And he looking at us, and he's pleading, help me, help me. And we're looking like this, right? And we in the channel yelling, like, swim out. And, fifth wave hit him, sixth wave hit him, seventh wave hit him. It's like, I forget how much waves hit him, but it was to the point where another wave hit him, and we lost him. We couldn't see him. And then that was it. Never saw him again, never found his body. But till this day, his voice is real distinct. His eyes is clear as day. It was like yesterday happened. So it's those memories of kind of what affects you. The rescues that, if I had one ski, I could have saved him. But back then, that wasn't the time. But, it's like, for me, I never want to have anybody experience that kind of feeling, because it's on scar you can live with the rest of your life. So for me, it's like, that's my scar. I'm not proud of them, and it's something I couldn't have done, but I had to experience them.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
So how do you move past it? Just
you can't.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we all human beings. You just can't. You gotta accept that all you can do is do something better. Learn from other people. Be water. Be adaptable. Be a opponent to change. Because there's one thing about our society is, man, people are so afraid of change. And that's the thing is, you change is going to happen, but are you in that seat to kind of like be that change for the benefits of everyone, or at least the majority, So how can you be a part of that? Because sometimes people fight that change and then realize that it's still happening, but then it got into something that we really never liked, So again, I just feel in life-saving, you just got to be really quick, really, open-minded, and just kind of like, understand all the details. In the ocean, I tell you one thing about being Hawaiian, it's looking back at our culture, and, I teach this to a lot of people, some in the military, where I have them walk down to the water's edge, and it's real basic training, and it's all about awareness. And they look one time, and they close their eyes, and they walk all the way to the water's edge to the point where you feel you can manage the energy without being taken out. If you can understand that, like a shore break, right? So how far can you walk down without being pummeled, So, and then at the same time, they find their area, how far they can walk down, what their zone are, right? In complete darkness of, closing your eyes. And then I have them do this exercise of breathing when the waves go out, you breathe out. When the waves come in, you breathe in, When the waves go out, you breathe out. When the waves come in, you breathe in, So what that does is it puts you in sync with the timing of the ocean, because now when I teach you about entries and exits, you already know the flow and the timing of the waves in the ocean. So it's just one thing, and that's something that, for me, learning from my dad, because we never have satellites, we never have internet, we never have things, but my dad would tell me like, oh, that's the forerunner of that waves. The intervals is this far away. We're going to have surf tomorrow. Or the waves coming in, because see this current, it's moving. Or you see the fish, they start, like congregating. So there's storms coming in. So my dad would tell me a lot of things when I was a kid, and it's like I never lost sight of those things, even though I learned a lot of the technical things, right? With all the satellites and the buoys that we use and things like that. But having that strong foundations of being taught, in that way. And I make sure that, I teach my kids, those kind of things also too, because my dad would say, if you see the fish running, there's only two things they're running. They're either chasing food or they are food, So you look and stuff. And also too, when you get into the water, like a lot of the things I learned from other professionals is like the predators, the sharks, right? When they come in, know the environment that you in. Are you at a river mouth because there's a source of food for the sharks? Are you at a harbor entrance or harbor because that's where the fishermen throw all their guts? Are you at a point because that's where the currents run, or the drop off? So all these areas are place where the sharks going to frequent, right? You in their house, you in their hale, so that. And then also when you meet up with them, you got to remember a lot of times when people get attacked is because you acting like food. That's the whole thing. You showing the shark, this is one prey, scared, it's heart beating. They can read that bioelectric, right? That pulse. The other part too is that you turn tail, prey. Predators is always eyes forward, looking at you, slow heartbeat, preying on you. So if you act like one predator, rather than prey, you stand more of a chance of not getting attacked, because they too is like cautious and they're going, what is this? They're not acting like food. Are they food? No, they don't act like food. So again, understand your environment, right?
Yeah, that's a great lesson to know.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, next question comes from Coach Kahu _official. This person says, what is the best and worst part of the job? I know it is worth it regardless. Mahalo nui, uncle.
What is the best
and the worst part of the job?
Which job?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, which job? I guess of all of your jobs.
It's weird because I never learned about entrepreneur, right? Kind of things. And I tell you one thing I did learn for life. It's like, enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the work that you do, regardless of how much you get paid. Because, life is all about quality, right? Quality of life. Because you can work real hard and you can hate your job and all that kind of things and gain all these extra things. But it's like, how hard do you work and hated what you did to where in the ending of your life, you hope you're going to enjoy, all this kind of things. And for me, it's like I try to create little things to where I don't have to work as hard, or things that, going to help me in life. I tell you, I tell people too, the two books that I kind of read that helped me out a lot too was, one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, understanding that. The other one was Inspiration by Kathy Ireland. If you ever read that, Kathy Ireland was, she was a supermodel, right? And if you look at her life also too, she looked at herself as like a product, right? She was this beautiful woman, and she looked at herself like, okay, how much money am I gonna make in that time when I'm beautiful? And what she did also too is she invested in herself, and she looked at smaller products that was up and coming and said, I love what you're doing. I want a piece of that, and I'm gonna help put my face on that product, but I want to be part of that company, right?
Smart.
Yeah. And then she just branched out. If you ever read them, I mean, she's
Yeah.
like a, not millionaire, billionaire, and smart, and that's the kind of thing is like, wow, people just start thinking like that kind of thing. Like, how you going to just, move forward, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and not be a victim of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert's from Hilo, like
Yeah.
me, so
Yeah.
it's really inspiring. Okay, last question comes from Sean 808 Onzuka. He says, if you could surf one dream surf spot for the rest of your life with no one out, what wave would it be?
I mean, for me, it's home, right? Makaha. It's a special wave because when Makaha fires and it's point surf, and my best ride, favorite wave, getting barreled in like a 30, it's like 60 foot tall, right? We call them 30 feet. It was, and I know which wave it was. It was riding from a point all the way across in the bowl, jumped the channel to the next break, claws Myers, and, surfed all the way in. That was the magical ride of my life. I mean, I've surfed other waves that really also gave me that hype, like at Piahi, right? We call Jaws. I also surfed at Mavericks, and it's a nice big wave also too, but it's not my cup of tea just because you gotta love it, the cold weather and all that. When I got hit by a big wave at Mavericks, I was like, oh my God, it's not fun. Ice cream headaches and
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, yeah, Makaha is a beautiful wave. I think I've only been there once in my life.
Yeah.
If I go, I can just say, oh, I know Uncle Brian. He said I can catch all the waves.
Yeah.
I just say that. Yeah. He said, just let me go. If I cut you off, it's okay. He said, no, it's okay. All right. He follows up with saying, how big is your dream wave and it's firing perfect conditions? And if only one other person could be there enjoying it with you, who would it be? It could be anyone long, long ago or present day.
Oh God, I guess it would be my dad, really, yeah. But I mean, for me, it would be two people. Really, it would be that's why I wear this hat, the Duke, right? But my dad also too. Just watching my dad surf before also too, and I love. I mean, he got older, right? We just took him out on the jet ski. Hokulea came paid homage to my father for his event, and we took him out. My dad's 90 years old, and we put him on a ski and went around Hokulea, and then got into Makaha Bowl, caught one wave with the ski with everybody, the water patrol guys, and that was special. And my dad was waving his hand, so that was pretty cool, right? So I felt like I lived my dream with my dad in like that, kind of sense. But if I was to pick one day, yeah, it would probably be with my dad and Duke. And one of the pictures that my mom had long ago was actually a picture of Duke Hanamoko holding me when I was on baby.
Oh,
Somebody
cool.
took that picture, but we never got him back. So yeah, that was a lost treasure and stuff. But yeah.
Got the memories.
Yeah.
Because your dad was on Duke Hanamoku's surf team, or like he was part of the Beach Boys, or
So
what was it?
my dad, he had a hard life. You can look up his documentary on YouTube too.
Yeah.
But he, grew up on the West Side, had a real hard life, and then as he got older, he went into the military because he was either going to get thrown in jail or go to the military, and he did. But when he did, they based him out at the Haleiwa and Mokuleia area there. And my dad ended up rescuing all this, officers and, soldiers. And that time of the Korean War, my dad said that the commander there told everybody, whatever you do, don't ship him out because he's saving everybody else, So they kept him over there. But after, when he got out of there, he went down to Waikiki. And, he was part of the Beach Boys because my dad said he slept under the canoe. It was a whole waterman thing back then, Waikiki, right? Duke and Rabbit and Jama, and they go out and they take the tourists and they make, extra coins and stuff too. But that's where he met my mom. My mom was actually from Waikiki,
Wow.
Yeah. So really, I was born because of them two surfing at Waikiki, also too. My mom was a Waikiki beach girl. My uncle was Blackout Whaley, who was a wicked beach boy and, tandem champion also too. So, yeah.
The family legacy just keeps on getting better. Okay, and last one from Sean. He says, if you could go back in time when you were lifeguarding, what year would it be and why?
Oh, God. Probably when I first started, just to tell him what not to do.
Hey, but you learned from failure.
Yeah. There's so much. When you're young and you just charge and, do this and, it's like, and then you get older. I mean, it's to the point like, okay, I surf a lot of the eddies, right? And you look at all the competitors and you go, man, everybody's good. Anybody could win. How can I get the edge over everybody else? So I would just paddle. Like I was training. I paddled one day from Waikiki to Makaha on a paddleboard, just brought a backpack and just paddled, and then did that, just to kind of put like my own goals on myself, right, by myself. And then also too, I started to just invest in the art of wiping out, or how can I be better at holding my breath. So do breath holding exercise. I would do exercise with like no breath. I would push all my air out and then dive down.
Wow.
But also too, I would have trained with someone because we're also teaching extreme safety also too, right? Hand in hand, like shallow water blackouts, what that looked like and how we're going to bring somebody up. So, it was all that kind of things too. And then the other part is I just remembered going, man, I'm going to just jump over the falls, So when we had the skis, I would have Melvin just kind of like drive me and I would literally just jump off the back of the ski onto the lip and just free fall with nothing. Yeah. And just take the wipeout, right? And just wipe out. And a lot of times I wipe out with fins and just go because you get the power to pull up. But sometimes I just relax and not let the fins do the work and see how long I can go. The other part I did is I took a bunch of us and we just went in a channel. I hung one rope and one anchor and we would say, okay, we have like 2-wave holds down, 3-wave holds down. It's like, you near death. And I want to see how long I can stay under and hold my breath. So I would, as soon as the wave come, we in a channel, we would go down and hold our breath and let one wave pass by. And that's, like say, 20 seconds, right? And then the next wave go by, another 20 seconds, right? So that's like the, first wave, second wave, 20 seconds, third wave, 40 seconds, fourth wave, like 1 minute. So then, we underwater and we let the fifth wave go by and then we come up, right? But we're in one static environment, right? So we would take 2 guys, go with the ski, jump off with fins, with goggles, and just stay under for like 2-3 waves and then look at each other and then we would pop up, right, in the impact zone. And then we'd just keep doing that because for us it's like, man, we actually held our breath in 5 waves physically, so that mentality there was like, all the impossible stuff got thrown out. It's all possible. So that just frame of mind just kind of helped me like, boom. But it's also, remember, I'm telling you this, but the art of lifeguarding and the art of surfing go hand in hand because we were practicing extreme risk with extreme safety, right? So that's the difference. So don't take it like, oh, Brian did this and I'm going to do them. There's a lot that goes along that, right? Because we had a response team. If somebody black out, what we're going to do, how we're going to do things. So the other thing I learned also too, in the event when the whitewater grabbed me, and like as soon as the thing grabbed me on big wave, instead of swimming up and fighting, I just took big strokes and swam down. So what that taught me was, as I stroked down, I using the energy of the ocean to get me down quicker. And I wouldn't do that at Pipeline, but I would do that at like Makaha because it's deeper. And I pull myself down. So what I found out was I get to less energy quicker down on the bottom and then turn and look up. And then there's all these, as most people surf, when you look up, you see these doorways and windows of turbulence that you can kind of swim through. And you kind of see that pathway is like, oh, I can come up. So I found out that by doing that, I actually came up quicker than the guy who wiped out next to me. And I came up with a lot more energy because it was not even exerting energy. It was utilizing the ocean's energy to empower me right? It's like the superpower of the ocean, and then using that knowledge to come back up. And then I was like, oh, geez, well, that was nothing, So I would do that over and over, and it was like, oh man. So I think that's the part, right? Is the me now, meaning the earlier me, and telling the experience, right, of life. That would. I mean, I would have been just amazing if I knew what I knew now.
Yeah. Yeah, but the journey wouldn't have been the same.
No. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have such a cool life. Mahalo, everybody, for the social media fan questions. And make sure you leave some for our next guest. And maybe a question will make it on the podcast. We're coming to the back end of the podcast. And I like to ask all of my guests the same question about keeping it aloha. It's the name of the podcast. So I want to know, in your life, how do you keep it aloha?
How I keep it aloha. Really being, truthful to yourself and truthful to others. And, I always say, elevate, elevate people around you. That's keeping it aloha.
Yeah. Sounds like that's what you've been doing your whole entire life. And that's probably what you were taught from your family. So it's a family thing. Ohana thing. Okay. I want to know, what is something that you wish people knew about you that they don't?
I think I wish people would know, sometimes when I do things, the true intention is not to benefit me, but how do we benefit each other? I'm always community driven and cultural driven. Everyone from my community in Makaha really knows who I am. If you don't know, if you're from Makaha, you don't know me, you're not from Makaha. So everyone in Makaha, yeah. So that's the thing about being local in the community, is that I am community driven or culturally driven. I'm always sharing, but also we always learning and understanding our past, but also I'm well in depth in the future also too of what can benefit us.
Yeah. Seems like you're a good mix of like holding on to the traditional lessons, but always looking to innovate. And, you're not afraid of using the new technologies and all of that, because it makes sense, where as Hawaiians, we're innovative people,
Kamehameha brought in the guns.
Yeah, that's how he conquered. I think a lot of people don't realize that's how he conquered all the islands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He just killed a bunch of people with guns.
Yeah.
So what does like the next 5, 10, 20 years look like for you?
Next, it's hard because I think sometimes I just look at what's on today and what's on tomorrow. But again, my time invested into our film industry, in telling stories, in developing our next directors, because telling their stories, right? I think that after going to Aotearoa, New Zealand, and seeing that, to me, that's just a dream now of mine. It's like, how can we get into our cousins, like learning from, and we're doing that, like Lucy and Alex Tarrant is helping us,
so
guys.
Awesome. I love that.
Too. Man, it's just awesome, and the sharing that they have, right? The energy they have also too, it's infectious, and that's the thing. I'm looking for the next stars, the next people, because like I said, Jason Momoa is my cousin. I brought him into this industry. He elevated to who he was, but I want to see who's the next ones. Yeah.
Do you have people that you want to say that we should be keeping an eye on, or?
Oh man, I mean, there's so much. I mean, the other part, I'm a fan of Moses Goods. I mean, to me, he's an amazing, storyteller, amazing actor. Someone proud in the community. Also too. That's the thing, and proud that he's on Chief of War. Also too. I mean, we got so much people to share. Keaulana is another one.
Yeah, Ocean. Yeah. You mean Ocean?
Yeah, Ocean.
Ocean Jennings.
Yeah. Ocean, she's one to watch.
Totally.
Right now. Yeah.
Yeah, she has a great personality, very confident.
Oh yeah.
Ocean. Kekoa's doing his thing.
And Kekoa, Kekoa, it's funny, right? Because so when I knew that we was going to do Rescue High Surf, right? I was the first one. So before the thing even went out to press and, talent and stuff, I was the first call I made was to Kekoa, because, he's the lifeguard, right? And then he acted, and he was, baby Aquaman, right? Also too. So then I told him, Kekoa, get this show coming up, you gotta go try for them because this is like written for you, right?
Is this when it was Kinui Road still?
It was before Kinui.
Oh, before that.
Well, it was like pitched, right?
Yeah.
So Kinui Road gonna come out, right? So anyway, so he did, and then right off the bat, everybody fell in love with Keaulana. I knew already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they asked me to audition for Kainaludro, the one that Alex does it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's so funny because usually my hair is like his hair.
Yeah.
I've had people like text me like, "Is this you?" or like that we look alike. So I wanna one day I'll get Alex on. I'll cut my hair back. I'll get a tan, and we'll have a little twin contest.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously, such a good show.
Yeah.
If you could bring back one show that we had in Hawaii, what would it be?
Oh my God! You know, one of my favorite.
A remake.
Well, Water Road was the funnest for me. You know, also to 8 months on that show, that was real fun. But one that was really good that never really come out was we called Wind on Water. And Wind on Water, it was we did 8 episodes. I don't know if they even came out. It was on a big island, and it was about the Paniolos. And we had, so you got to remember, our Big Island cowboys are like unbelievable mountain and watermen, like from mountain to ocean. These guys can surf. These guys can pono pihi. These guys can, ride horses, ride bulls. I mean, and not just that, right? We got Mauna Kea also too. So in that story, it was opening up like snowboarding, snow skiing, coming down, surfing, riding horse, riding motorcycle, sailing. I mean, it was like multiple. You talk about a waterman's dream and mountain also too, from mountain to ocean. That was one of my favorite shows that I did, Wind on Water. Yeah.
Cool. And how come it never came out? Or
I don't know.
Just never got distribution?
Never got distribution. So Zalman King, who directed that, so I did a movie in God's Hands with him. And then after we did that movie, he called me to stunt coordinate that show. And we did 8 episodes of Wind on Water. Yeah. I got to look and see if that thing ever came out. But yeah, to me, that was the concept. It was probably the most funnest.
That would be super cool to see a Paniolo show.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully that happens one day.
I think so.
What can we do as just not people not in the industry? What can we do to support?
Oh man, I mean, God, I guess write to our senators and our House representatives about how important our film industry is, because again, it's how can we not be so bounded into tourism? Because tourism drives our economy, but when COVID happened, tourism was out. The only thing that was driving us was our film. We were at 100% working, during COVID, and giving money out to the rest of everybody else, keeping everybody alive. So it's like I don't understand the sense of not knowing that, right? The benefits. I mean, for me too, like if I was to redesign Hawaii, I mean, for me, right, is like I would have made one upper road and one lower road, because if any traffic had, we could actually be going up and then down and stuff. That's what I would make. But in between that, I would have put anything, leave the forest alone, anything below the forest, you make agriculture or loy fields, because that would be our fire break that would go around our island, and that would be our agriculture. Our agriculture would be protecting our fires if they would ever come down, because it's managed, right? It's water and all that kind of stuff. And then, when you look at our aquaculture, we were so far ahead of the rest of the world, right? Our water was the purest. I remember as a kid in Makaha, right? Because our water would flow all the way through Makaha and open up the beach. And I never realized back when I was a kid that all that nutrients that went out fed our limo. It also fed the smaller fish, because when I was a kid, we had thousands of uhus and kalas and maninis and aveos. I mean, it was more than any aquarium or Hanama Bay would be like unbelievable, thousands, of fish. That's how I grew up. It was like, you like eat fish, go over there. It's like right there, bang, just what color you want, how big you want. That's how it was.
You can use chopsticks just to get them.
It was that abundant. And then when development happened and it kind of shut down the water from above, right? And the water never flowed, the sand never opened up, the beach got eroded, the fish never really kind of returned. Plus, we overfished the area too, so that's the other part too. So the management of when back in our ancestors' time, it was so well managed. But you got to remember also too, what people don't understand, the consequences. We had kapus back then, that's the thing, was just plain. You break on kapu, you live and you die. That's it, and people would understand, what it is. And the other part too is like, because I looking at even our area in Makaha of how can we regenerate our watershed, because looking back into how we retain our water, not only with our loy fields, but how we manage our streams, because we had like our ponding areas, because as the water sit and settle, the thing would drain down, and that would also feed everybody else. So, again, I don't understand when you look at like places like Arizona doing that, and you're seeing their forests coming back. And we in Hawaii is like, why are we not doing that? Because everybody else doing that. And we have a culture that shown the way to the rest of the world, but we ourselves not doing that, And we have people in our culture doing them. But when I say that we're not doing them, I'm talking about our state, as a state, people. Because,
well, they're not investing into
it. As culturalists, as local people, we have a lot. But again, I wish our state would jump on more than that.
Well, Brian Keaulana for governor, 2020.
Yeah.
28? When was the next election? You ever think about getting into office?
No, I was offered before. I was like, no, sorry. Yeah.
Stay out of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we start to wrap up, I got to know, what is your life hack? Were you able to think of one? Did you ask around? Do you just have one that you can, on top of mind, to share?
Yeah, I think I kind of told you that life hack before, right? It's kind of just setting that goals, kind of thing. But, for me, I don't know, my life hack is just surround yourself with positive people and just keep moving forward. Yeah.
How do you find those positive people?
Oh,
if you don't have.
Well, what you got to do is the process of eliminating the negative. That's the thing. Because when you get someone who's just, bad vibes or bad things and stuff, and here's a life hack really for me is never let your emotions control your actions. And this is one life hack that I do a lot, because a lot of times, as human beings, we get emotional. And if we make an emotional response, a lot of the times that's the wrong response. If you're going to do them in a way where you're going to make one choice instead of take one chance, it's take one deep breath, think about what you're going to say, take time, because time is the one that really gives you the knowledge, and it heals also too. I think one smart person sometimes is when you can absorb a question, breathe that question in, live that question, and really put them in your head, like what are the pathways where the answer kind of like goes. And then before you give them any of those answers, it's like, okay, what was the best one that came out, this way? So I do that all the time, right? It's like, just I see things happen and I work backwards too, so that's the other part too, because I think in reverse. If I do one movie, I think from a place of success. How did we become successful in this movie? And then work backwards. These are the steps that we did in order to be successful.
It's great life advice right there. Mahalo. Okay, I got my last fast 5 questions. These are rapid fire answers, okay? Favorite work snack?
Favorite work snack? Draku.
Oh, nice. Homemade?
Homemade.
Yeah. Favorite guilty pleasure?
Oh, God. Sorbet.
What flavor? And from where?
Raspberry.
And from where?
What is that plastic one? Oh, God.
Like you buy at the grocery store kind?
Yeah, well, you buy them grocery store or at Down to Earth.
Oh, okay.
It's like an Italian name, I guess. Oh, I see the bottle. I didn't even look at the name. Black cap and
Okay, we'll go
raspberry.
look out for it then
Yeah,
next time we
yeah.
go. Favorite vacation destination?
Favorite vacation. Oh man, that's a good one because I get two actually.
Yeah, both.
Well, Japan and Tahiti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what we're planning to go for our podcast, Japan and Tahiti. Okay. Favorite TV show or movie?
Favorite TV show and movie. Well, Rescue High Surf.
Nice.
Yeah. Favorite movie for me. Oh man, Temple Grandin.
Oh, never heard of that.
Oh God, you gotta watch
Temple
Grandin.
Grandin. Okay.
Grandin. So it's a true story about one autistic lady that went to college and kind of changed the industry in the cattle world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And for Rescue High Surf, hopefully there's a season 2. If there's a season 2, can you guys get the podcast on top where it's like maybe we're doing a live podcast in the ocean and a big wave comes and washes me out and I'm a floating dead body and they have to like bring me back to life.
Be careful what you ask for.
I've been campaigning for like anybody who's part of the film industry. I'm campaigning to be a dead body on like a movie or a TV show. That's my dream,
Really?
Yeah.
I just played on Dead Body on Wrecking Crew.
That's what I want to do because then I feel like it's like the easiest thing for me to do. Just
Not that easy. You gotta hold your breath, can't move, can't breathe.
I got it. I've been waiting my whole life for this. So I told every single guest that's been in. Lindsay, I told Michael.
So you know what you gotta get? You gotta get Matt Kester sitting over here and ask him because he's the executive. He can write that in.
I just want to be like somebody just randomly watching a TV or movie and they're like, "Is that the Keep It Low podcast guy dead?" That's just my dream. Okay. Not in real life, though. I love life, but just for the movies. Last one. Favorite thing about Hawaii?
So here's the thing. When I was young, all I wanted to do was get away from home, get away from Hawaii. I truly never appreciate home until I went to third world countries. Mm-hmm. When I went to Peru and I saw the poverty, I saw this old lady on the side of the road that looked like my grandma. And I missed my grandma, right? My dad's mom. And she was begging for money. And I reached in my pocket, I grabbed one bunch of money and put it in her hand with this rag. And my friend stopped me and goes, "Don't do that." And I go, "Why?" He said, "Because you might have caused her death." And I go, "What?" He said, "Other people over there see her with that much money, they're going to kill her." And I go, "Wow, never think about that, right?" It's just not in your mind to even think like that, right? That extreme when, holy crap. So seeing that and people starving and homeless and just, we see homelessness, but when you go...
It's next level.
Yeah, next level. When you see people just dying on the streets and stuff and just, the quality of their water, even the oceans. And then growing up in Makaha and not experiencing cold water, or snow, right? And then traveling. When I came back home, I appreciate home so much after traveling. So, having a world view, is really educational.
I totally agree. I lived in Madagascar for 3 years, and it's one of the poorest countries in the world. Yeah. And you see the hanabatas on the face, people begging, people just passed out on the ground, and it's a whole new perspective once you're over there.
It's humbling,
Totally. Yeah. So I feel like we live in the best place in the world. Super grateful. That's all we got for you today. I just want to say mahalo for coming in, sharing your stories.
Right on, Kamaka.
I know I want to let you go because you got some things that you got to take care of. Is there anything you want to share with us before we wrap up? If not, tell us where we can find you.
I would say you can find me at Makaha Beach, but I've been so busy lately. Hopefully right now, we're trying to take care and educate about this tax incentive right now. And by the time maybe you hear this, we've already found out where we're going to be. Mm-hmm. So hopefully by this time when I'm, listening to this, that we've got our shows. Right now, so we had the finale for Rescue High Surf, right? But we also going to have on August 1st, Chief of War is playing.
It's August 1st already?
August 1st.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I missed the release date.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's super exciting. I'm a big fan of everything that you do. I'm a supporter of ICANN and everybody here. So let me know however I can help you guys out. I'll here to Kokua. Make sure you guys go check out ICANN as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mahalo, Brian, for joining us on the Keep It Aloha podcast. Spread love, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka, and remember to always keep it aloha.